Hello and welcome to another episode of The Real Shot 256, and this is Evening Crypto. Thanks for joining. This is sort of a unorthodox video for this channel. We don't usually come to you on a Sunday evening this late, certainly, but I do think the situation does call for it. BAKKT just launching a few hours ago, and definitely something that going into Monday, going into next week. Remember, I am in the United States, West Coast, so it is still Sunday evening here. If you are in the far eastern side of the world, or if you're in Europe, for you guys, it's already Monday, and so Bitcoin, physically settled Bitcoin futures have already launched and are live, and so that sort of news definitely warrants an update and a video on the crypto sphere, the crypto markets. We'll take a look at the news, this particular article here by Cointelegraph, and then we'll get into the charts a little bit just to do a quick update. Again, the main reason why I wanted to bring this video and get on here is because the launch of BAKKT futures, what that means going forward, and what sort of impact it's had so far in the price of Bitcoin. So let's get on to the usual here. Let's do a quick market update. We're currently trading at 263 billion. Not a whole lot has changed in the last week or so. As far as 24-hour volume, it has dropped to about under 50 billion, 47. I will call it 48, just to round up. And Bitcoin dominance is up just a tiny bit to 68.2, according to, again, CoinMarketCap. Everything, there's more red than anything else. I mean, it's probably about 85% red, and 15%, something like waves, these are one-offs who are, having green days and having some significant gains. But other than that, I mean, everything seems to be pretty much on the red for the majority of the market. All right, so let's get on to the news of tonight. If you see this video in a few hours, it'll probably will be Monday. But the much anticipated BAKKT platform, which is to provide physically settled Bitcoin futures, which is a big deal for the cryptos here, because again, it is a non-existent to this date contract that you can trade, right? Everything was settled in dollars or whatever currency you were, you're using, whether it's the euro, the yen, wherever you trade in the world. There wasn't a physically settled Bitcoin futures contract in the United States, particularly. I think the EU you do have. Don't quote me, because I don't use BitMEX, but I think BitMEX does do physically settled. You guys can correct me down below if that's true. Again, that's a platform that is something that I cannot log into, because I am a US based trader. So anyway, so this is a big deal. BAKKT pushing their deadline twice last year due to some complications with federal regulators, and up until the point where I think back in July they informed the public that the platform was ready to go. They were just trying to iron out some details as far as custody issues go, and that was all done and over with. And so they set a date for September 23rd, and here we are. So let's just take a quick look. I won't read it, all of it, but I'll leave the link for you guys to link up and read the rest of the article, which which you'll find to be pretty informational, pretty insightful as far as what to expect and all this great stuff. As of 8 p.m. Eastern, September 22nd, September 23rd, 22nd. It's still 22nd for us here in the U.S. again, in the West Coast specifically. BAKKT, much anticipated BTC futures trading has launched. The platform is the first of its kind to receive approval from the United States regulators and is a product of ICE, the operator of the New York Stock Exchange. While news of BAKKT launch and intention to facilitate BTC futures trading broke over a year ago, the platform itself has been numerous delays owing to regulatory concerns. On August 16th of this year, BAKKT announced that the company had secured approval from the U.S. Commodities Futures Trading Commission (CFTC) and has scheduled today as the first day of trading. So it went live earlier today, just a couple hours ago, and the big news that everybody was waiting for. I mean, I think second to the Bitcoin ETF, I think this was the biggest piece of news, the biggest milestone that a lot of people in the crypto sphere were definitely waiting on and had their eyes set on. And so far it's just been quite uneventful and definitely underwhelming as far as what the immediate reaction has been in the Bitcoin price. Certainly, volatility is definitely absent as of a couple of hours ago. You could say that it had literally no impact. It is said to, at this point, only about 3 to 4 Bitcoins total trading volume has ran through the BAKKT platform thus far. Again, we're only a couple hours into the actual launching of the platform, so that naturally will have to go up. You have to you kind of have to by default believe that that volume is going to significantly increase in the next day or two, and as we go further into this platform or further days go by, then the volume should definitely see a major uptake, and we should see some legitimate trading volume on its platform. But thus far, there is absolutely nothing to talk about as far as the price. So sadly to report here that there is nothing really going on with the price of Bitcoin. Now, what to expect as far as going forward? Again, the BAKKT platform itself should have more should have a bigger impact. Let's look at the I do have the longs and shorts here, but not for BAKKT. Here we go. That's what I'm looking for. So here are the shorts. The shorts are actually having a nice little bit of a upward momentum. People are starting to feel a little on the shorter side of things. And as far as longs, people are also, there's longs are actually on the uptake as well. So I mean, there's definitely going to be a nice battle going on here going forward. I would think that the longs would actually get, more longs would actually come into the platform here on CME futures. But so far, nothing to really talk about there either. So not what everybody was expecting. This is why I always preach in this channel that you shouldn't trade based on news and events, right? These sort of things can have literally no impact, as we've seen, and we've seen a series of these sort of events happen in the last, I want to say, in the last quarter or the last 2 quarters in thus far 2019, where there's been significant amount of news, but really nothing, no price action to follow it, right? If you've been following this channel, I've actually addressed some of those news, and just nothing to really talk about there when it comes to even the whole buy the rumor, sell the news sort of cliche. Definitely not playing out here, as we do take a look at what the market is doing currently with the shorts, the longs. GBTC is not open yet. I believe does open in the morning. We did close at 12.8. Let's see where that actually opens tomorrow. See if this sort of news actually does spark some bullish momentum in the price of GBTC. And if it does, a lot of times it's said that GBTC can have an influence on the price of Bitcoin itself. So we've seen that happen certainly in the past, and it could certainly happen again, right? So let's actually go back to our Binance chart. And also, some of you guys might have migrated to a different platform since Binance US has officially launched with 6 of their cryptocurrencies. Let me know if you guys are trading somewhere else, or if you're enjoying actually Binance USA so far. I have actually not made a move yet. I'm still trading Binance USA, or regular Binance. So um, let me know down below if you guys are using a different platform at this time. All right, so let's get back to that. What to expect here? Well, um, really a little bit more sideways action. I mean, if this event had absolutely no influence on the price currently of Bitcoin, then what I say is we can expect a little bit more of this sideways trading to keep on for the next, I don't know, week or two, since we are pretty filled here in this formation, this macro trend that we've been talking about for since back in early June. Um, we're still within this trend, right? And we're significantly to a point where it can't be said that it is completely full. And I've said here before that a move, whether a breakout or a breakdown, is quite possible at this point in time, because again, we're pretty much filled in this position here in this macro trend formation here. So a move should be expected to be coming soon, but at this point, I mean, it really feels like a no trade zone for me. If I'll say, I will say this: if I were to lean either way, if somebody said, "Here's $100, um, and place your bet," where would you place your bet? I bet that we're going to actually come back and retest the bottom area of support here. That's my bet. I'd actually, I'm not doing this, so don't take it as advice. Don't take it as something that I'm actually doing. I tell you what I'm doing when I'm doing it. I usually tell you guys, what the situation is and what I am into. But at this point, I am actually holding some Bitcoin, but I do have some sell orders in place. Um, I do have some sell orders at actually at this 55 here, and then also around the 200 here. This is looking at the 4 hour. I also have another sell order up here, so I've got some orders here, and then I've got a stop loss right below this area here at 9,500. All right, so and again, this is something I don't typically do because we do see that we do see here that a lot of times in these markets, because they're so still pretty shallow, you do get hunts to the downside or hunts to the upside where people are liquidated out of their positions. If you get liquidated upwards and maybe you bought down here, but then you get liquidated upwards, then it's not such a big deal. But when you enter down here and then you get fished out down here, say at 9,500, well, you've really lost out of some gains. So that's one of the reasons. Again, in these markets, I don't recommend that you use a stop loss. You can do whatever you want, but that's what I recommend based on my experience, right? Based on some losses in the past, I decided to actually stop using stop losses. So, but again, you guys can do whatever you want. And I did put ultimately a stop loss there, because if we do, I believe that if we do break down below this area here, then all hell is going to break loose. And again, I am leaning towards that. I do think all hell is going to break loose if we do lose this bottom area support here around 94, 9,500. And then after that, we surely and quite easily should come back and retest 8,900. From there, we've talked about 8,500. There is a CME gap right there at 8,500, right around this area here. In fact, let's just put a horizontal line of support indicating where that CME gap is going to be coming in. We're going to switch that to green so you guys can see that. So, and then also, let's actually bring this down a little bit. Let's also bring our Fibonacci extension tool, and it's okay. We'll fix it here in a minute. All right, so to this bottom here, make sure I got this right there. All right, so okay. Here's where we're at, right? This CME gap at 8,500 is coming in right at the 0.5 on the Fibonacci extension. So that would be a huge area of support. But again, if we do come back and retest this, very likely we are going to come back and although it may not happen on one significant move or one particular move, this could take it could take as long as it takes, right? I mean, I'm not going to put a time frame on it, but it could take days, maybe weeks, and then we do actually come back and retest a 0.5. That's kind of where I'm leaning based on this sort of bullish event, the launch of the BAKKT physically settled futures contract, having no impact on this whatsoever. Again, I'm not one to side with that sort of thing. Buy the rumor, sell the news type thing. I do believe that definitely can have an influence on price, but certainly something like BAKKT should have had even at least a slight influence. I think maybe a temporary move because again, this market, with the amount of trading volume that we've seen, which is looking pretty weak. I would have anticipated a maybe a weak move, right? Maybe a dead cat bounce, or maybe just a retest of this bottom area, and then maybe gets bought up. But again, if we do come back and retest this area of support down here, I am leaning towards it actually breaking down. So I'm glad that it didn't actually come back and retest this area as of yet. If it does again, you now know my thoughts. I do think it breaks down further from there. But I would have expected at least some sort of retest up here, maybe get back above it. I'm not saying that it would break out of this here, but it absolutely had no influence. The eastern part of the world is already trading. It's actually daylight in Asia. A lot of Asian countries, a lot of big players in the trading arena for cryptocurrencies, such as Japan, Australia, China. These big juggernauts that are on the eastern side of the world are already up and about and trading on those exchanges. So you would figure that there would be some sort of movement or volatility back in the market. But just seeing, I'm not worried about it at all. And that's not what I'm saying. So don't get me wrong. I'm not worried about it at all. I think this move, Bitcoin is just doing what Bitcoin does. And again, it goes further to support the fact that Bitcoin does whatever it wants to do. I mean, it's the big daddy, the big Mac daddy, the big king of all cryptocurrencies, and it's just going to do whatever it wants to do, right? And again, this is the market being the market. This is not manipulation. So all those guys you hear on your social media, on crypto Twitter, wherever it might be, about all of this whale manipulation, just turn around and walk the other way. That's the best advice I can give you. And this is a clear indication that a lot of people were calling for a big move. Most people were actually calling for a huge breakout and a final move out of this macro trend and into whatever is next for Bitcoin, which a lot of people again were getting very bullish, saying that we would actually come back and retest 14,000 after this event and further up. If you weren't hearing that, I don't know where you've been, because as soon as I open any social media outlet, I do see that sort of agenda playing out. But we see that it's neither here nor there. All right, so on the 4-hour, things are looking like it actually wants to come back and retest the 21 here on the RSI, but no significant move. It does look like it wants to reject off of there and actually come back down. So if we do that again, that's looking even more dangerously, because again, as I was saying, it would coincide with a possible retest of this bottom area here. So that's on the 4-hour. Let's actually start with the 1-hour now. Back here just to see, 1 hour is looking definitely tired and definitely looking like it wants to retest this prior pivot low down here. If we do break this pivot low here at, where's it coming in at, 98.65, around that area, if we do break the down below, then I do think we could quite possibly retest 96.51, and it just becomes a domino effect. We do come back and retest again 9,500 down here, and subsequently we keep reaching for further lows. So that's on the 1 hour. Let's look at the 2 hours. Should be transpiring to the 2 hour. Yeah, 2 hours looking definitely tired. Rejection off the bull control zone, bullish area here. And it looks like it wants to retest the exponential here on the RSI. If we do break below that one, I do think we gain more momentum to the downside as the 1 hour is showing us. The 3 hour 3 hour is looks like it's actually, if we do close where we're at here at 99 below 10,000, I do think we're definitely going to have a cross to the downside here and retest the 21. As the 1 hour and the 2 hour are looking, it does look like it should cross down and definitely have a retest of that 21 here coming in right in the smack middle of this neutral control zone. And actually come back and retest the bottom of the neutral zone and get into the bearish control zone. Which would be scary again. That would mean that we're playing this move out. Again, in the shorter time frame of things, I am leaning as to this is the likelier scenario in the short term of things. Again, if we do break down below this yellow line of support, we have to reassess from there. But it's very likely that this plays out. 4 hour, we just looked at. Volume on the 4 hour is actually being tamed by this exponential here on the volume signature, on the volume indicator, which is not a good thing. Again, if we are to have a decisive move, which we are, once we do get it, again, we're going to have a decisive move. Look for a massive move, whether it's to the upside or to the downside. Again, right now I'm leaning towards this down here. You guys can tell me how you guys are feeling, what you guys are kind of looking for. If you're bullish on the next step, if you're bearish like me on the next step, definitely let me know. I do want to hear and get sort of a consensus on what is going on and what people are thinking thus far. But let's actually, what I'm doing here, I'm trying to measure a move if we are to break out sometime in the next couple of days. Trying to figure out where we'd go if we were to break out, and this move is actually pointing to about 14, a little bit over 14. So a lot of those people who are saying that we are going to retest 14,000, if we were to break out, then that is definitely in the cards. Now, the scary part, the scary scenario, if we were to break down, we'd be coming down to test about 50, according to this thing, 5,400, 5,500. According to this move, and it does, look at that, it does actually play out with the Fibonacci extension, telling us, I mean, this again will be the more dire, the very bearish scenario in the scheme of things. Come back and retest the 786 here, and we would find a definite bounce. But again, this is going to be decisive, but it doesn't have to be done in 1 hour, 2 hours, or maybe 1 day. This could take days, weeks, maybe a month or two, right? So wherever this goes, look for that to have definite continuation. Wherever this goes, if it goes to the upside, if it goes to the downside, look for this to have decisiveness and just continuation. That, don't think that it's going to be, in my opinion, don't think that it's just going to be like, a somewhat significant move, but then it will stop there and have a decisive bounce. That's not what I'm looking for. Or on the opposite side, don't think that we're going to go and retest this area here at the 236 around 11,400 and then have a retracement. We could. That is very likely because, again, on an uptrend or downtrend, we are going to have bounces or pivots, right? So look for those on the way. But again, these moves should be decisive. These moves should be major, and people are going to get ultra bullish if we break out, or ultra bearish if we break down, and then you'll have Peter Schiff coming into the crypto Twitter arena and just toot his horn about how he called it right and how Bitcoin is a fraud and a bubble and all this junk. And then you'll get a few other people jumping on board with that as well. So just be careful. Look, and again, my best advice is follow the price. Follow the price. Doesn't matter what you hear, say, or whatever's going on. The crypto Twitter chart gurus will say X, Y, Z. Don't follow anybody. Just follow the price. I can't say that enough. If the price is going down, follow it. If the price is going up, follow it. Right? Follow the money. Follow where the money is. Right? Best thing I can tell you. All right. Ethereum, and then we'll wrap it up here. Ethereum, because again, the reason I wanted to look at Ethereum is because I do believe Ethereum was the catalyst cryptocurrency that actually propelled this short-term bounce in the alt market, right? And we do see Ethereum actually fizzling out here. If we do break below this pivot low here at 203, I do think we're going to come back and retest the green area of support here at 194. Again, in my opinion, I do have this scenario here playing out where we're going to come back and retest this area. So Ethereum to me is going to look like it will retest it to the 195 down here, and then further down if Bitcoin is deciding to break down off of that macro trend that we've been speaking about for many months, actually about 4 months or so, right? Since the beginning of June. So look for that to happen. Again, if we have even a slight breakdown, look for that to happen, right? We do have that same signature here on the volume where we do see the volume tapering off. We're now being tamed by this exponential here on the volume indicator, and look at where the RSI is coming in at currently, right at the edge of the bearish control zone. So it's a very fragile looking price action right now. So again, I'm leaning towards this to actually come back and retest ultimately 194. It's not going to happen over the next day or two, but I do think that is almost inevitable. I am leaning towards that. That's kind of where I see things going in the short term. I could be wrong, so don't follow me. Don't think don't think of this as financial advice. Never want you to do that. I'm just sharing my opinions here, and that's all I'm doing. Hopefully that will help you make a decision either one way or the other. But again, follow your own intuition, follow your own knowledge. I don't want to say intuition, but a lot of times it's helped me. I try not to get emotional, but sometimes intuition does help, especially if you're feeling sure about a certain move. All right, so again, it does look like it's fizzling out. Let's look at the start with the 1 hour like we did with Bitcoin. Yeah, 1 hour is resting right on top of this the 200 EMA here. Let's zoom in here, get a better look. It's currently in between this 21 and the 200. So again, it does look like it wants to retest the 200 here on the 1 hour at 205. We're currently at 208, and you know the breakdown could eventually lead to a bigger move to the downside. Looking at the 2 hour resting right on top of this 89, and also the 200 simples coming in right there as well on the 2 hour. So I mean we're currently having a bounce as we speak off of this area on the 2 hour. So the 2 hour is actually calling it right. There must be a lot of bots and algos trading around at the 2 hour. Let's actually go and look at the 3 hour, see what the 3 hour is telling us. Is it a breakdown of the 55? No, actually it's trading above the 55 right now. So yeah, I mean this is looking good for the shorter term of things. On the 3 hour and the 2 hour, both are showing us that there's plenty of support there. But the higher time frames, the 4 hour is telling us it's looking pretty fragile. I do put a little bit more weight on the 4 hour than a 1, 2, or 3 hour, and of course the daily. Let's look at the daily really quick. See what the daily is telling us. Yep, finding support at the 200 EMA. Actually, no, it's actually trading just slightly below it. But the 89 is coming right around there, and also the 30 is coming right at the same place, coming in confluence there. If we do break below again, it just that 195, 194 area just looks like an inevitable move on Ethereum. Again, if Bitcoin is to have that sort of reaction that I am certainly looking for in the shorter term of things, then we should see definitely Ethereum being hit as well as all of the other alt cryptos. Now, just to wrap up here, I told you guys, hopefully you were listening and paying attention to my previous videos for the past week. I was calling for this move to actually end pretty soon. This was a significant enough of a bounce in the altcoin markets, but it surely did not have the characteristics of something that would actually last for a very long time, especially with Bitcoin having this move here and putting it actually this dip here and putting everything in check. Bitcoin not liking not liking your altcoins pumping and saying, "Look, guys, you're gonna march to the beat of my drum, right?" And we had this big dump in Bitcoin. I mean, it was just temporarily. It's just, I interpret this as Bitcoin being the king and just saying, "Hey, stop what you're doing, hold off, like stop the nonsense," and just putting an end to that pump on the altcoin side. So hopefully you guys were paying attention and you did not get caught with your pants down, and you did exit at some profits, right? Hopefully you did that. All right. So, and also hope you got something in return or in exchange for your time spent here with me. If you did like the video, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet, and hit the bell notification button there as well, so you do get notified when I put out these updates and videos. What do you think of BAKKT? Let me know down below. Leave your comments. We'll chat it up, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Have a great Sunday, and hope that you have a great start to the week tomorrow, Monday, the 23rd. I'll see you guys later.